Can Catholics marry non-Catholics? Before we answer this, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell if you don't want to miss any of our videos. Okay, so if you are a Catholic and thinking about getting married, this is probably something you thought at some point in time. Is it okay for me to marry a non-Catholic? The short answer is yes, you can. It's not a sin and there's no rule against marrying a non-Catholic. In fact, according to the Central Office of Church Statistics, the number of Catholic weddings celebrated around the world in 2021 was over 1.8 million, of which 9.2% involved a Catholic marrying a non-Catholic. So then, what's the big deal? Why are Catholics encouraged to marry within the church if it isn't a sin or against church teachings? To answer this, let's first look at the Catholic understanding of marriage. In the Catholic Church, marriage is a sacrament instituted by Jesus Christ to create a holy and indissoluble lifelong union between a man and a woman. The sacrament gives them the grace to love each other in a holy manner and to raise their children in the Catholic faith. This is completely different from the current worldview of marriage. Here's an example of someone who thinks marriage is just paperwork.
We should not be afraid to leave these men. We are not stuck with these people. Marriage is not a sanctimonious thing. It is paperwork. It's something, it's a commitment you make to someone. But if you feel like you're not getting anything from that commitment and you're trying, you gotta go. You gotta go. You have to go. I know it's difficult to fill out paperwork and to make appointments and to do all of these things, but this is your life. Do you want to be stuck with someone?
If you feel like you're not getting anything out of it, then go. She feels there's nothing sacred about marriage and it's just a piece of paper. If you approach marriage with that mindset, it's nearly impossible to make it work in the first place. The church, on the other hand, describes marriage as a vocation. It is a vocation because it is a calling from God to live out a sacrament of marriage and to fulfill its responsibilities. Marriage is meant to help the spouses live out their call to holiness. So what happens when one spouse is not Catholic? In general, there are two categories of marriages between Catholics and non-Catholics. One, mixed marriages or a Catholic marrying a baptized non-Catholic, for example, Protestant, Baptist, Eastern Orthodox, Evangelical, etc. And two, disparity of cult where a Catholic marries a non-baptized non-Catholic like a Hindu, Muslim, Jew, etc. Mixed marriages are still considered as a sacrament since it is between baptized individuals. However, according to Canon Law 1124, they still need to obtain permission from their local bishop to marry a baptized non-Catholic. On the other hand, a marriage between a Catholic and non-baptized person is considered a valid natural marriage, like for example, a marriage between a Jew or a Muslim, but it's not considered a valid sacrament. This is because just as a priest is the minister of the sacrament of baptism or Holy Communion, in the sacrament of matrimony, the ministers of the sacrament are the couples themselves. This is only possible if they are both baptized. So, why are there so many rules and regulations? Does the faith of your spouse really matter? Yes, it does. Like I said earlier, marriage isn't just about two people who are in love or who want to make each other happy. For Catholics, it's about getting each other to heaven. When Catholics marry non-Catholics within the Catholic Church, they must declare and promise to do three things. 1. Affirm their faith in Christ and promise to continue to live as a faithful Catholic. 2. Respect and honor their future spouse. And 3. Do everything possible to baptize and raise their children as Catholics. Now, why is this important? As Catholics, you should be able to bring your spouse into full communion with the Catholic Church through prayer and by bearing witness to the faith in your daily life. If you're not strong enough in your Catholic faith, it won't be long before you find yourself compromising or even giving it up altogether. One potential challenge is the difference in religious beliefs and practices. For example, if your spouse is an atheist, would they be willing to accept the church's teachings on contraception or IVF or abortion? Or if you marry someone of a different religion altogether, would you practice both religions or have a religion-free home? Would you allow your child to pick and choose which religion they want to believe? Would you participate in non-Christian religious rituals or ceremonies to avoid offending your spouse? Another challenge would be the lack of support and accountability from your spouse to live out your Catholic faith. Would they encourage you to go to Mass and receive the sacraments? Or would they question your beliefs or make you feel like they are not that important? How would you take major life decisions? Based on prayer and discernment? Would faith play any role at all? With non-Catholic Christians, it could be disagreements on doctrine or certain practices that cause problems. For example, what if your Protestant spouse wants to get rid of your saint statues or your rosary because they believe it's wrong and sinful to have them? Would you be able to attend Mass as a family? Another major issue would be differences in parenting and raising your children. Would they be baptized? Would they be encouraged to read the Bible and go to Mass and learn more about the faith? A study done by Pew Research Center in 2016 found that 62% of children in families in which both parents were Catholic remained Catholic as adults. But for those raised by one Catholic and one non-Catholic parent, less than 50% remain Catholic as adults. Think of homes where one parent faithfully goes to Mass on Sunday while the other doesn't. The other parent doesn't believe in God or believes in some other religion entirely. This gives the child the impression that faith isn't important or relevant and can be taken for granted. You can't force your child to go to Mass if your spouse isn't going either. You can't teach your children about the faith if your spouse says God doesn't exist. Marriage is already hard enough. Not being on the same page for some of the fundamental issues make it even harder. You are willingly being yoked to someone who is either indifferent to your faith or worse, is actively against it. So, is there absolutely no hope for Catholics wanting to marry a non-Catholic? Should we give up on the idea altogether? Of course not. For Catholics, marriage is a covenant, a sacred bond and a vocation. Marrying someone outside the faith makes it difficult but not impossible to fulfill the Catholic goal of marriage. There have been many cases where after 10, 15 or even 20 years of marriage, the non-Catholic spouse decides to get baptized and confirmed in the church. But the initial groundwork plays a crucial role. Catholic dating is discernment for marriage. Right from the very beginning, don't be afraid to talk about faith. Being open and honest about your beliefs, values and expectations is not only respecting your spouse but avoids heartbreak later. Talk to priests or counselors who could help you discern if this is the right choice for you. At the end of the day, the top priority for every Catholic should be Jesus. If you know you will have to compromise on your faith, it's probably not worth it. So, what do you think? Is it prudent for Catholics to marry non-Catholics? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you like this new format, let us know by liking and subscribing to our channel. Until next time.